Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is Thursday Morning Live, and I am joined by one of my good friends this morning, and we'll get to him in a minute. But I'm glad that you're here. Hope that your week is going well. It's hard to believe just that a week ago was Thanksgiving Day. You were probably spending time with family or friends and, having a great meal and enjoying the day and a little bit of time off. And this week we're back at it. So one of the things that I always like to mention to people is intentionality, right? Are you being intentional about what you're working on and what you're doing? Here we sit with maybe 25 days left this year. Uh, and how are you going to end the year? Have you decided the year's over and you are kind of just taking some time off, or are you continuing to stay focused and push through? I always say that if you take that last 45 days of the year and work just as hard as you typically do in the beginning of the year, it'll jumpstart your new year. Watch for a couple of things that we have coming up to help you jumpstart your new year, by the way. uh, January 9th or January 9th, I'll be having my annual goal setting and business planning event. Be 2 hours in the morning, and we will be covering, goal setting, some processes around business planning and how to help streamline your business a little bit going into 2025. I firmly believe that a lot of things are going to be changing. 2024 was a little bit tougher year, maybe a rocky year for a lot of people, but going into 2025, I believe a lot of things are going to change. Some of that is the new administration, interest rates, things that are going to propel your business. And we're just, organically coming out of this market cycle that we're in. And we're cycling out of the fourth quarter of it, heading into the first quarter. So things will be different in 2025 for you. Coming up next week, starting on Monday, is my 5-day multifamily challenge. If you haven't registered for it, I'm going to encourage you to get registered for it. We're going to spend 5 days, 2 hours a day, 90 minutes a day. We're going to be talking about how to get into the multifamily business, how to scale your multifamily business, the tools, the techniques, the systems that are all required. If you go to challenge.multifamilyinvestmentsecrets.com, challenge.multifamilyinvestmentsecrets.com, you'll be able to register there for that 5-day challenge. It's free. So tell somebody about it, get registered, get there. We have several people that have already registered for the event. It's going to be a blowout. It is free, but seating's limited. So make sure you get registered for that today. We're going to be talking about multifamily investment secrets. So it will be a great platform for you to scale your business. And then if you're new to the show this morning, welcome. Glad that you're here. Uh, uh, Join in the chat and tell us where you're from, what platform you're on, and whatever platform you're on, make sure that you like us. Subscribe to our channel. We are continually bringing great content out, new guests, trying to help you, give you those golden nuggets that are going to help build your business. All right, let's get going here this morning. I am joined by my longtime good friend, Carl Moose, who goes by Moose. And we're going to talk solar. We're going to talk energy. We're going to talk business this morning. And I think that this morning will be very intriguing for you because we have a special announcement to talk about as well. Carl, good morning. Moose,
Good morning,
what's
Mike.
up?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm glad you're back in Chicago for a couple of days. So yeah, always good to see you.
Yeah, I'm. I came in on Monday to see some family. I got to spend some time with my mom and my daughter last night. I was up in Wisconsin this week where we had a high net worth dinner event for private investors, and we, tons of meetings today and a lot going on. So I'm glad you and I could carve out a little bit of time. But here's what I don't miss about Chicago is the cold. It is frigid. I got in the car this morning. It was 11 degrees. So I am certainly looking forward to going back to the beach. And, people say, how's the weather in Huntington Beach? And I say, yeah, it's 72 and sunny, you know, and pretty much most days it's like
Yeah.
that in the afternoon. So,
Yeah. Well, we
but
definitely have to make a trip out to visit you.
yeah, for sure. And I just throw it out, anybody else that's going to be out in the area, make sure you let me know. But hey, Carl, glad you're here this morning. We've been friends a long time. I know I asked this question, but in one word, tell the listeners what best describes you personally and professionally.
Wow, one word. Okay. Back to your point earlier, Mike, about what's happening this year. Right now I feel persistence. I think
Mm,
persistent. We're busier than all get up right now, and throughout my entire career, and I know because of how you work and your work ethic, it ends up December always ends up being a good month for me. Because I just put my head down. I don't subscribe into that. Oh, it's the end of the year and nobody's doing anything and everybody's shut down and blah 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 blah. So, for me, I'd say persistence at this time of the year.
yeah. Persistence is a good word. And let me ask you this. I know you really well, right? And I know you are a pretty persistent person. Um, but where did that come from in your life? I don't believe that you're born persistent, right? How do you think that developed over the years for you?
I think a lot of it had to do with my family. I come from a big family. I'm a middle child, right? And so I was always, at it with my older brother and older sister. And then I played hockey since I was 6 years old. So I was never the best player on the team. I mean, I had good skills, but I was persistent. You know what I mean? I would work harder. I'd get to practice earlier. I'd stay longer. And I almost every after high school or during high school and beyond, every team I was on, I was the captain of the team. Not because I was the Patrick Kane, the best player. It's because I was persistent. I just
Mm,
worked. I just never quit. And and Mike, I'm a big Napoleon Hill fan. His one of his chapters in his book is persistence, and he tells a story about being 3 feet from gold. Most people give up when they're within reach of their goal, and they lack that persistence. So I think it really started from just my family life. Always wanting to play with the big kids, and then just being an athlete.
yeah. I love the story in that book about the farmer that sold the farm because he was looking for gold, couldn't find it, and the people he sold it to, like within 3 days, found all this gold in the stream. You
Yep,
know,
yep,
that's how it's that's a good realization of how close most people are.
yep.
You know,
The three
um,
that's where the story 3 feet from gold comes. He quit 3 feet from gold. Literally
right.
3 feet. He was 3 feet away from one of the biggest veins in history.
Yep. And it's interesting. I think most people do that in their lives. They uh you know, I, here's a great example. And I watched people over the last few years in the multifamily space, right? And it got tough. The business got tough. And I even hate saying it because I don't like to put that stuff in the universe anymore, right? Because 2025 is going to be a killer freaking year. And your group, our group, we're going to do some great things together as we kind of joint venture here. But, you know, I've seen so many people that were in the multifamily business, had some great things going on. The market got tough, interest rates went up, they couldn't raise capital, and they went into the self storage business, or they went into the car wash business, or and I understand diversification, but I don't understand losing your focus. So, you know, I've been in the real estate business 30 years. I've been in the apartment business over 15 years. And, uh, when I look at it, I'm focused on, market rate rent multifamily. I don't do student housing. I don't do medical, no self. So it's interesting if you stay consistent and persistent at what you're trying to do, you obviously will ultimately get to your goal.
Well, I agree with you, and my background. Besides the solar, we're in the light industrial manufacturing, which as you mentioned, we're joint venturing with you on some stuff. But I don't want to look at anything else, right? And you listen, everybody's got an opinion. People are talking about, the interest rates and, what's going to happen with the new administration. I can't pay attention. I can't be worried about that. What I mean? I've got to put my head down, focus on my model, and there's plenty of opportunity. I think a lot of it has to do with the mindset, Mike. It's, abundance versus lack, right? If you, that's why I love getting on an airplane, right? When I always sit at the window because I like to look out, and there's just so much opportunity out there. I can't be bothered with all the noise, right? It's just, we're very focused. As my partner Joe and I, we're very focused on what we're doing in the commercial real estate space, the light industrial manufacturing, and there's opportunities everywhere. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not paying attention to interest rates or what's going on with the Department of Energy or anything of that nature. However, it's not going to knock me off track.
Right.
And again, we always have to pivot. We always have to switch gears, and we have to pay attention to what's happening. But on the same token, staying focused is very important.
Yeah, focus is very important. So, hey, listen, you've already kind of like scratched the surface here. Let's jump in. Let's talk to people about this joint venture that Resilience Equity and Greenlight Energy is going to be doing together, in the CRE space, right? Now, what I want people to understand, and I just talked about this, I'm not losing focus. I'm just going to diversify a little bit. Sure, because we have models and systems that complement your models and systems, and those two models and systems together are going to build this platform. So, we know that we're going to look at commercial industrial buildings, triple net. For people that don't understand what triple net is, long-term leases with many cases national tenants that pay all of the bills. So you own the real estate and you have a mortgage on the real estate, but you're paid rent to cover the mortgage, which throws off cash flow. But we're going to do what to those buildings that are going to increase cash flow?
Yeah, and Mike, to your point, you're diversifying. I mean, you're basically leveraging us and partnering up with us, which is smart. So so our focus right now is what we call C&I or light industrial manufacturing. So we're looking at buildings, minimum 50,000 square foot or larger, single tenant, triple net, as you mentioned. They paid not only the rent but also the insurance, the taxes, and the utilities. In very specific geographic areas, mostly the Midwest, because Midwest manufacturing is coming back big time. And these are stabilized properties. In other words, we're buying the property with a tenant already in place, minimum of 7-year lease. And then we're going to go in and we're going to implement our energized real estate model, which basically means we're going to take that building and we're going to create about 4 or 5 additional revenue streams by putting solar on top of that building. So by doing that,
wait, slow down for a second, because I want people to really get that 4 to 5 additional revenue streams.
Yep. So beyond the triple net rent, we're gonna collect rent every month, but we're gonna go in and immediately implement our energized real estate model, which means we're gonna put solar on top of that building. So as soon as we do that, Mike, we qualify for a 30 to 50% federal tax credit. So every dollar we spend on the renewable energy project, we can get 30 to 50 cents back in a federal tax credit, dollar for dollar. That's number one. Number two, we become the power company. So now we're going to produce energy and we're going to sell that energy to the tenant under contract. So that's a second revenue stream. Now, as a clean energy producer, we're going to collect the carbon credits. So that becomes a third revenue stream. And then we get the accelerated depreciation over a 5-year period. We can depreciate 100% of that project. That's the fourth revenue stream, which is off balance sheet. And then we put the building through a cost segregation, which is a whole nother topic. However, we collect that off balance sheet revenue as well. And depending on where the project is, we could potentially qualify for a grant. So we take that solid building that's already stabilized, that's producing rental income, that has a long-term tenant, that's paying all the bills basically, and we energize that by putting solar up top.
So, here's what I want people to understand about this. And if you're driving, you might want to pull over, because I don't want you to get in an accident when I say this. But, multiple streams of income, long-term tenants, single tenant, don't have to deal with a lot of move-ins, move-outs, right? Easy maintenance, easy management. Returns are definitely, your typical triple net deal might throw off 6 or 7%. This is probably going to be 9 to 12% cash flow. We're projecting mid-teens IRR total all in, and with the credits and the depreciation, you're going to be closer to the high 20s, low 30s return uh, year after year for the next however long. So for a coupon clipper, and let me just clarify what that is, somebody who wants to get a check every month, mailbox money, for a coupon clipper, this is going to be a great way to put more cash in your pocket because of those extra revenue streams.
Yeah, and this is great also, Mike, for individuals that are looking for tax write-offs, because as you know, because you've been underwriting these deals, there's three off-balance sheet tax credits that we can then extend to our investors potentially. So there's just a lot of moving part, a lot of ways that these projects are different than other projects. And you and I know each other. I used to own multifamily, and there's nothing wrong with multifamily. As a matter of fact, multifamily is a great segment because people always need places to live, 100%. The thing I like about this model is it's very simple. There's a single tenant, and it's often a credit tenant. I mean, you and I both know we're looking at a couple FedEx facilities, right? FedEx. Who doesn't want FedEx as a tenant, right? And then the other thing is these are very low maintenance, as you alluded to, and very low management, right? And we're not having anybody move in and out every year, right? It's a long-term tenant. In other words, the tenant that's already in the building is going to write a lease with us for 5 to 7 years, which means we don't have to lease up that building, every year. Oftentimes, like you have to do with retail or office or some other types of commercial real estate.
Right. Now, one thing I want you to talk about a little bit is the credits. Where do those come from? I think that there's some federal and some state tax credits that come back, and we're able to utilize those. How?
Yeah. So the federal, it's called the ITC, which is an investment tax credit, and the PTC, which are federal programs. So every state in the union you can qualify for that if you have a certain type of renewable energy project. That's administered through the IRS. It's not money that comes back to you. However, it's a tax credit. So hypothetically, if you had a $500,000 tax liability and you had a $500,000 tax credit, you could offset those so that you basically get rid of your tax liability. So that's something that we can lay off to investors. As I mentioned, the high net worth individuals that are looking for tax breaks. The state credits are more of a depreciation, again, off balance sheet. However, you do get depreciation both on the federal and state level, above and beyond the federal ITC tax credits.
Yeah. So if somebody made a boatload of money this year and they need to write it off, does it make sense for them to get into a deal like this?
Well, 100%. Say hypothetically, on this deal that you and I are perfecting here in the next couple of months, Mike, there's going to be about $700,000 in tax credits. So just hypothetically, if someone was to come and say, I've got $500,000 I want to invest with you guys, we can, within the operating agreement, assign them, say, $250,000 of that $700,000 in tax credits. So they put in $500,000 as an investor. They get all the benefits of being an investor at that $500,000 level. However, we can immediately give them, $200,000 or $250,000 in tax credits that they can use next year in 2025 to offset their tax liability. So it's a dollar for dollar tax credit. It's not a deduction. So it's bottom line tax credit. And we, as the sponsors of this deal, the sponsor of the deal has the flexibility to assign that to investors within the program.
Yeah. And let's talk about the depreciation piece, right? We know we're going to do a cost seg study. If people don't understand what cost seg is, they can call you or I after the show and get detail on that. But that's going to accelerate their depreciation. If somebody invests in January in a deal like this, can they take advantage of the cost seg study and the depreciation for the previous year?
Mike, that's a really good question. As you know, we have a guy on our team that can answer that. I'm not 100% sure. And of course, as a disclaimer, we're not accountants, we're not tax attorneys. So, we can point you and your CFO or your accountant in the right direction, tell you what you qualify for. How all the intricacies work, I'm not 100% sure. However, if anybody has any questions about that, there's a guy on our team that, obviously, Kevin as well, Mike, that can answer all those questions. He's been doing cost seg for 20 years. I think you can. I don't want to say definitively, but I think you can.
Yeah. So I believe you can as well. So
yeah, I think you can.
Here's what I know for sure. If there's somebody this morning who, and I made the comment, made a boatload of money in 2024, and there are those people out there that did, not everybody had a bad year, right? Sometimes there's those, those people, and they're not even anomalies, but they made a lot of money, and they're like looking today. How do I I talked to a doctor last week. He said, I have $125,000 tax liability. I said, you could pay the government $125,000, or you can invest $125,000 in this deal, get a $75,000 write-off, or you can invest $200,000, get a $100,000 write-off. You can play with that, because we have a live deal right now that's a multifamily that will give a high income earner a great tax benefit for 2024 if they need it. So, four buckets that you and I try to fill for people, right? For the investor. One is preservation of capital by being involved in the brick and mortar. Two is cash flow. How do we increase somebody's cash flow? Three is long-term generational wealth. And I know for sure that these light industrial buildings, this project that we're joint venturing on, is going to create long-term generational wealth for people. And then the tax planning strategies, and when you look at it from, a good diversified portfolio, you should have 20 to 30% of your assets in real estate. And this gives you those great benefits. So,
well, yeah, Mike, I mean, if you really study wealthy people, I'm not talking about the nouveau riche, I'm talking about wealthy people. They own real estate and they understand the tax code, right? And so, these opportunities, they fulfill those two things: long-term, stabilized, income-producing real estate, and taking advantage of the current tax situation. And again, it's the federal government and the programs we're working, Mike, are related to renewable energy, right? And the federal government and the state government and the utilities, believe it or not, want to participate in the renewable energy. Forget about the fact that what happened November 5th. This isn't going away. I've been in renewables since 2004, and these programs, they may morph, they may change, but if you think for 1 minute that the people in Congress and the people in Washington are not vested heavily in renewable energy, you've got your head in the sand. They are, right. And it's not going anywhere. I mean, so what's my point? My point is, when you talk about being an energy producer instead of an energy consumer and taking advantage of all the programs that are out there, it's pretty overwhelming from a commercial real estate standpoint.
Yeah. And one of the stories I really love is your partner, right? Your partner puts solar on his house, overproduces energy, decides that he's tired of putting gas in his car and paying for fuel, goes buys an electric car, fills his car up every day for free because of the overpower that his house doesn't need. And, it's a net win-win for him. And, people should think about that a lot more, and solar is, solar's been around for years, but we know that recently, because of some of the legislation and the laws passed, that there is going to be, more and more solar usage. And, there's just an overabundance of the sun, man.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Mike, I mean, if you really think about it, all source of energy, including the energy of me talking and doing this podcast right here, is the source is the sun. I mean, the sun is the ultimate source of all energy in our solar system. And why are we digging up 600 million year old plants and animals that derive their energy from the sun, got baked into hydrocarbons? We're digging it up, transporting it on trains, burning it to create heat, to create steam, to turn a turbine, to turn a generator, to send that power 100 miles away when you can produce energy right on your roof, right? And yeah, again, that's why we're looking at these 50,000 square foot and larger buildings. I mean, we've got a couple of buildings that are 600,000 square feet. Do you know how much energy they absorb every day? I mean, think about it. The sun has not taken a day off in 14 billion or 4 billion years. It hasn't taken 1 hour off, right? I mean,
maybe it naps when the clouds go over it. But
exactly right. Depends where you are, right? In Arizona
right.
or California. But seriously, and back to your point you made earlier. When you pay your taxes, what's your ROI? You get nothing back, right?
Right.
You get zero back. When you pay your electric bill, what's your ROI? Zero. I mean, granted, you're being a responsible citizen when you pay your taxes, and granted, you get electrons, you get energy when you pay your electric bill, but you don't get any return on that investment. When you invest in a renewable energy project like the one we're talking about, that federal tax payment that you make, as you said, can go into a project, and now you're getting that 8, 9, 10, 12% return, and you're invested in a piece of property. Now you're investing in a renewable energy project, you're producing energy, which we're now going to sell to our tenant. So there's a return on that investment in the tax dollars, and there's a return on that investment when you're investing in a renewable energy project.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, it has been a pleasure. It's always fun to hook up with you and get together. Sorry, we're not going to be able to see each other this trip, but I'll be back when the weather's warm, May, June, July, something like that. So we'll get together then. But this is always a great way to connect. Tell people how they get a hold of you, Carl.
Yeah. So you can reach me at email is Carl, CARL, at greenlightenergy.solar. Or if you want to reach out to me, you can text me. My phone number is 630-785-0031.
Perfect. Carl, thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate you. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening in. Carl, stand by with me in the back room for a minute, all right?
Okay, Mike.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. This is a great show. There's a lot of information here. If you didn't get it all, go back and listen to it, because the tax credits, the energy credits, the depreciation, the things that you can get to offset your taxes. Hey, this is the time of year everybody's thinking about tax planning, which is kind of unfortunate, because we should be thinking about it at the beginning of the year and getting things set up for the end of the year, right? So that we don't drive our accountants too crazy. But there's a lot of benefits here in what we're doing, whether it's the multifamily, the CRE space. If you're somebody looking to jump into multifamily space this year, join me for my 5-day challenge next week, Monday through Friday, 90 minutes in the evening. And we're going to talk about multifamily, the systems, the techniques, the processes, the tools you need to get started to skyrocket your business. One of the big things we're going to talk about is mindset, right? Because a lot of what we do is all about the mind, and how do we engage that and bring, operate at a higher level. So be there, join us. It's free, 5 days free. Go to challenge.multifamily investmentsecrets.com, scrolling at the bottom there. Hey, everybody, thanks for being here. We'll be back next Thursday morning. Have a great week. Reach out to Carl if he can do anything for you, or if you need any help, don't hesitate to reach out to. Well, have a great week, everybody.